So my daughter got in trouble in school. She said something funny. They were learning about Native Americans, and the teacher let the kids pick their own Native American name. So she asked one boy, "What's your name?" Said, "I'm Running Deer." Asked another boy, "What's your name?" Said, "I'm Roaring Bear." Asked my daughter, said, "What's your name?" She said, "I'm Chick-fil-A." That's just funny, right? Teacher got all upset, sent her to the office, called a parent-teacher conference. Yeah, unfortunately for her, I was home. My wife begged me not to go. My wife's like, "You've never gone, why are you going now?" I go, "'Cause I'm home." She's like, "Don't say anything." I'm like, "Okay." I didn't get a chance. We walked in, that teacher goes, "So, Mr. Cho, what do you think about that?" I said, "I think that is hilarious." She goes, "Don't you have any concerns?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." Did she time it right? That's how we do things in my house. You're gonna be funny, you better be really funny. We got home, my daughter's like, "Dad, am I in trouble?" I said, "No, honey, that's hilarious." It's like genius funny. I said, "Did you think of the last second or did you have it?" She goes, "I had it. I was gonna say it." And I thought, wow, I'm gonna get in trouble. What would Dad do? Bam! I said, "That's my girl." She said, "You do stuff like that growing up?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "What's the best one?" I said, "All right. 8th grade history teacher was going on 6 weeks maternity leave. We're going to have a substitute for 6 weeks. First day she's there, we're in homeroom. My buddy looks at me and goes, "You know, the sub starts today." I go, "That's right." He goes, "Well, today, you're our new foreign exchange student." I said, "Yes, I am." I comb my hair straight down. A girl named Kelly Coleman who made an AFS badge. I put that on. Then I kind of jogged in the room, just like an old Asian guy, you know. I know that's wrong, okay? I saw it on MASH. My dad would kill me if he ever saw me doing that. He'd come running in this room. And my buddy was my interpreter. Yeah, we didn't speak Korean, but we figured she didn't either. And she bought it. She was talking to me like this. A few years ago, I'm doing a show in St. Louis, big theater. I told that story. Woman from the upper deck yelled out, "That was me!" I'm like, "Miss Davenport?" She goes, "Yes." I said, "How are you?" How old is my oldest son? Did I buy him something to drive? Are you a car salesman? What the heck's that? Yes. How about that? Yes. Are you referencing an old joke of mine? You are? Okay. Well, I didn't set it up, so it won't work. What he's talking about is, so Asian people. I was the only Asian person in Knoxville when I was growing up. I never saw another Asian person, so I had no idea I was supposed to be smart. I didn't figure out till my first day of college. People sitting next to me trying to copy my work. They're like, "Man, you're not smart." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, I was born here." So then later in the show, I'll talk about my son Jackson, and I bought him a 2000 F-250 6-speed diesel 4x4. Because I want all my kids to learn how to drive a stick shift. And you want to figure it out? Stick shift. He can't text and drive. Diesel, he can't sneak out. It's pretty smart, huh? And I was born here. So. I tell you, my boys don't understand the whole daddy-daughter thing. They don't get it. They're like, Dad, you just spoil her rotten. I go, sure do. She gets anything she wants. I go, sure does. She wants a pony. You gonna get her a pony? I go, yeah, I'll get her a pony. Like, can we get a new Xbox? I go, no, guys, save money for a pony. You crazy? Get out of my house. Stop eating my groceries. How about that, huh? And I believe in spanking. I think you ought to spank your kids. I never spanked my daughter, though. If she ever did anything wrong, I just spank one of the boys. They're like, what was that? You should have been watching her. The crazy thing is when your kids start going to school, you end up hanging out with their classmates' parents a lot. You don't really know these people, but you're with them all the time. Well, my daughter's best friend's little boy's half Vietnamese, and his dad's name is me. So me and I know. Me and I were inspectors at a robotics tournament and turned to bad Asian version of Who's On First. Because the director came up and said, hey, who signed up on this robot? And I said, me. He said, you? And I said, no. Well, then who? Him. Well, who's he? Me. We can do this all day, buddy. So me found out I was making fun of him in public. TV, radio, everywhere I can. He's a grown man. He's had that name his entire life. No one's ever made fun of it except for me. So he calls me, he goes, hey, you making fun of me? I said, yeah, making fun of you. He goes, why? I go, because we're sick of me. He said, it gets worse. I go, how? He goes, my sister's name is you. I said, you're lying. He goes, I swear. I'm like, how cruel are your parents? We're going to name them me and you and send them to America. That's what we're doing. That'll teach them to talk back. My mother taught special ed for 40 years. Well, she had a head start. She raised me. Clap for all these educators in your midst. Past and present. So my mom taught special ed 40 years, and I was doing a show a couple years ago, and she came backstage. So at this point, I've been doing stand-up 35 years, and my mother has never been backstage in my entire career. So I thought something was up. I went, hey, what's up? She goes, you need to thank all the teachers. I said, okay. My next interview or something? She goes, no, tonight during the show. I said, well, there's like 1,000 people out there, but okay, I'll do it. So I did it. After the show, she said, you need to do that every show. And I'm like, for how long? She goes, well, until I die. So I probably got a couple more years. Got to do this. I just want y'all to know that my mother, I recognize you teachers because my mother asked me to, not because I care. So, personally, I wouldn't waste time. My wife and I were very blessed. We have 3 kids. We have 2 boys and a little girl. A buddy of mine had 4 boys. He finally had a girl. His first thought was hallelujah. So they named her Hallie. Isn't that sweet? So my daughter's name is Vasectomy. Yeah, we call her Snippy. So Henry Cho, if you're keeping score. I got to stop telling that joke, man. Well, she's a little girl when I wrote it, you know, and people see us in public, they walk up to her and go, oh, you must be vasectomy. She's just a little girl. She's like, I guess, I don't know. Now she's a teenager. Just the other day, she's like, thanks, Dad. That old man over there just called me vasectomy. I'm like, well, it's going to pay for your car. I'd shut up. My boys' names are Jackson and Grant because we knew they're going to fight. All right, some of y'all know your U.S. history. We thought about Lee and Grant, but Lee's too Korean. Oh, talking about the upper deck reminded me of a story. I was talking to my pals the other day, comedian pals. We lived in L.A., used to hang out all the time. One of my buddies, comedian, he knows nothing about sports. He doesn't care about them, so he just doesn't pay attention. But he doesn't want to look like an outsider whenever there's like a Super Bowl party or something. So he figured a way to get in. He would always show up to a party and go, see a bunch of people sitting around. He'd just walk in and go, how's Johnson doing? That's all he would say, and he was in. One time we were at a football game, and there was a guy in the upper deck sitting all by himself, has the entire section to himself. He's got a radio, a blanket, he's sitting back, and my buddy get bored with the game, goes, see that guy sitting all by himself? I said, yep. He goes, I'm going to go tell him he's in my seat. Takes the whole third quarter, he walks all the way around, walks up to the guy with his ticket out. You see the guy just bust out laughing. My buddy sits down. I said, what did you do when you sat down? He goes, I just said, how's Johnson doing? We used to do this thing called Hey Steve. Oh man, okay. Jurassic Park. This is how long ago it was. Century City movie theater was one of the first theaters you could pre-buy tickets. So we bought 8 tickets together, all 8 comedians, and it's packed. And we're sitting like 2/3 back. And my buddy goes, I'm going to go do Hey Steve. I go, yeah, perfect time. Hey Steve. So he goes in concession stand. He gets 2 jumbo popcorns, 3 big old Cokes, walks all the way down in front of the screen and starts walking back and forth. So he's walking back and forth with all this stuff, and I just yell out, hey Steve! And he keeps walking, he stops, he looks around. He starts walking again. Another guy goes, hey Steve! He just keeps walking, stops, looks around. Just keeps walking. Now people we don't even know are going, hey, Steve! Steve, they're right here, you idiot! My buddy waits till it gets dead quiet, and he looks up and goes, my name's not Steve. And people sitting around us going, why'd you do that? I go, because it makes us laugh, that's why. It's a $50 joke, it's hilarious. We don't even like popcorn, you want it? We don't care. Y'all just did that to laugh? I go, yeah. It makes us laugh. We don't care about the movie. Now we'll go home talking about Hey Steve. Let's go. Kids play sports yet? They play sports?
Daughter dances.
Dance? So, no. That's an activity. Not a sport. I'm sure it is now. You probably let her in it. Sports have gone too far, man. Man, kids' sports, I don't know what to do anymore. I coached Jackson's baseball and basketball teams back when he was younger. You know, we won a few games, never won a championship, but he has 7 trophies. Just for showing up. I'll never get that last season. Trophies came to the house, I threw them away. My wife goes, what are you doing? I go, somebody's put a stop to this. She goes, you have to give those out. I go, I'm not doing it. Last game we got beat 18-2. They could care less. They just lined up for their trophies. Like, hey, Coach Cho, where's our trophies? I go, you know what? You don't get one this year. Like, why not? Well, because you're a loser. Now put your helmet on and get out of here. Go get your snack. Who started snacks? I don't snack my entire childhood. Pre-game, halftime, post-game. Orange slices, gotta have orange slices. There's a snack list. I didn't know that existed until my first practice. After my very first practice, I told all the parents we're not having snacks. This mom ran me down in the parking lot and goes, "We have to have snacks. Can I have a snack list?" I said, "We're not having the snacks, ma'am." "No, we're going to have snacks. Jeremy can't play a whole game without a snack. Jeremy needs a snack or Jeremy can't play a little game." I'm like, "Well, Jeremy's not that good." He will never play a whole game. Don't y'all eat at home and come late? How about that, huh? People in Maine were freaking out about the snow. I'm like, you live in Maine, man. They have those goofy winter sports up there. The Winter Olympics has my favorite sport. That biathlon, you know that one? Where they cross-country skiing, then shoot a rifle. That's too easy one in my book. Imagine you're in third place, but you have 2 bullets left. Y'all a little slow with math over there, huh?
My girlfriend turned down my proposal, saying her career had to come first. She later showed up single at my office while I was picking up my new wife for lunch. My name is Leo. I work as a civil engineer focusing on bridge maintenance projects around Rotterdam. My work schedule is steady but demanding, usually starting early in the morning and ending mid-afternoon unless inspections run long. I have lived in Rotterdam most of my adult life and my routine is fairly predictable. Work, gym a few evenings a week, and quiet weekends either catching up on reading or meeting a few close friends from university. My girlfriend back then was Maya. We had been together for a while and were living together in a small but decent apartment near the river. Maya worked as a corporate lawyer at a mid-sized international firm. Her job was intense, long hours, constant pressure, and she talked about partnership tracks and billable hours almost every day. From the outside, we looked stable. Shared bills, shared furniture, shared plans about where we might move once both of our careers progressed. The reason I am posting here is because of something that happened recently that dragged a very old decision back into the present in a way I never expected. To explain that properly, I need to go back to how things unfolded earlier. Maya had always been ambitious. That by itself was never the problem. I respected people who took their work seriously since my own job is built around long projects and slow progress. The issue was that with Maya, everything eventually turned into a competition between her career and literally anything else. Dinners were moved because of client calls. Weekends disappeared into urgent case preparation. Even normal conversations somehow circled back to her firm politics and who was getting closer to partnership. I tolerated it for a while because relationships require adjustment, and at the time I genuinely believed the intensity would settle once she secured the position she wanted. Instead, it escalated. At one point, well into the relationship, I decided to propose. Not impulsively. I planned it carefully, mostly because I knew Maya valued appearances and milestones. I assumed she would appreciate the stability. The moment I actually asked is where things started to break in a way I did not fully understand until much later. I did not rush into proposing. The idea had been sitting in my mind for a long stretch before I actually bought the ring. From a practical standpoint, our lives were already merged. We had been living together, our finances were organized, and most of our friends treated us like a permanent unit anyway. Maya also talked about long-term planning constantly, just not always in the way most people expect. She liked discussing where we might live down the road, which areas of the city were gaining property value, and how certain social circles could help with networking. Because of that, I assumed marriage would simply be the next logical step. I picked a quiet evening. Nothing dramatic or public because Maya hated surprises that made her feel out of control. I cooked dinner at home. Nothing fancy, just something that felt normal. We finished eating, cleaned the kitchen together, and sat down on the couch with a glass of wine. That is when I asked. At first, she just stared at me. Not shocked. More like someone processing an email they were not expecting to receive. Then she sighed. Not emotional. Not happy, either. Just mildly irritated. Her first words were not what I expected. She asked if I had seriously thought about the timing. That already caught me off guard because from my perspective, the timing was obvious. We had been together for years and were both established adults with a shared life. But Maya leaned back and started explaining it like I had just proposed a bad business decision. She said her career had to come first right now. Not eventually. Not temporarily. First. She talked about the firm, the promotion cycle, and how getting engaged would complicate things socially and professionally. According to her, people in her office would start making assumptions about maternity leave and long-term priorities. I remember sitting there holding the ring box while she listed reasons like she was rejecting a contract proposal. What made it worse was the tone. It was not regretful. It was annoyed. At one point, she actually said that if I understood how competitive her field was, I would not have put her in that position in the first place. That was the moment I realized we were not talking about the same future at all. I did not react immediately. Mostly because the way Maya explained it sounded so calculated that I needed a minute to process whether she was serious. I asked her a simple question. I asked if she was saying she did not want to marry me at all, or if she just wanted to wait. That distinction mattered to me. Her answer did not make things better. She said marriage was something she might consider later once her position at the firm was secure, and once she had more control over her schedule. Then she added that right now she could not afford the distraction of planning a wedding or adjusting her priorities around a husband. The way she said husband sounded almost like an inconvenience. I asked how long later meant. She shrugged. She said it depended entirely on how things developed at the firm, and that answer told me more than she probably intended. It meant she expected our current stage of life to stretch on indefinitely while she focused completely on work. It also meant I had no way of knowing whether we were talking about a short delay or something that would eat away most of the years I had left to build a family in. I told her that did not really sound like a partnership. Her response was immediate and sharp. She said I was being dramatic and that plenty of couples waited to get married. According to her, I was acting insecure because I needed some kind of symbolic reassurance. Then she said something that honestly changed the way I looked at the relationship. She told me that if I actually cared about her success, I would support her decision instead of putting pressure on her with expectations about marriage. I remember sitting there thinking about how strange the conversation had become. I had asked someone I had lived with to marry me, a pretty standard step after years together. But somehow the discussion had turned into a lecture about ambition and sacrifice, where I was being framed as the unreasonable one. At that point, I closed the ring box, not out of anger, more out of clarity. And once that clarity settled in, I made a decision that Maya clearly did not expect. Once the ring box was closed, the mood in the room changed quickly. Maya noticed it, too. She asked why I looked so serious, but the question sounded more irritated than concerned. Like she expected the conversation to end with me apologizing for the timing and putting the ring away until it suited her. Instead, I asked her something very direct. I asked if she actually saw a future where we built a life together, or if she saw me as someone convenient while she focused on her career. She rolled her eyes immediately. That reaction told me more than her words. She said I was being overly sensitive and that adults understood how priorities worked. According to her, relationships had to adapt to professional goals, not the other way around. Then she added something that sealed the situation. She said that if I could not handle being patient while she built her career, maybe I was not mature enough to be with someone as driven as her. There was a certain tone to it, not just dismissive, but slightly superior. Like she believed her career ambitions automatically ranked above anything I might want from life. That was when I stopped trying to negotiate the situation. I told her calmly that if marriage was something she might only think about far down the road, with no real timeline attached, then we were not looking for the same kind of relationship. She stared at me like she had misheard. I continued explaining that I was not interested in staying in a holding pattern while she decided whether I fit into her long-term plans. For a few seconds, she said nothing. Then she laughed, not in a friendly way. More like she thought I was bluffing. She said I was overreacting and that couples did not break up over something like this. I told her we did. Since the apartment lease was under my name and I had been living there longer before she moved in, I told her she needed to start looking for another place. That was the moment her attitude changed completely. The calm, slightly arrogant tone disappeared. And the version of Maya that showed up next was a lot less controlled. The moment Maya realized I was serious, The conversation escalated fast. At first she tried to flip the situation back on me. She said I was being impulsive and childish. Like I was throwing away a long relationship because I could not handle waiting a little longer. But the tone had changed. It was sharper now. I told her this was not about waiting a little longer. She had just told me the wait had no real end point, while expecting the relationship to stay exactly the same in the meantime. That was not a compromise. That was an indefinite delay. She paced around the living room for a minute, clearly frustrated that the conversation was not going the way she expected. Then she started listing everything she had invested in the relationship. Time, effort, emotional support. The usual arguments people use when they want to guilt someone into backing down. I listened, but my mind was already made up. When she finished, I explained something very simple. If her career truly had to come before everything else in her life, then she deserved the freedom to focus on it without someone expecting a different timeline. And I deserved to build a future with someone who actually wanted the same milestones I did. She did not like that answer. At one point she actually said that finding someone else at my age would not be as easy as I thought. That comment was oddly revealing. It was not about fixing the relationship. It was about convincing me I had limited options. I told her she had until the end of the weekend to pack her things. Since the lease and utilities were under my name and I had documentation showing I lived there first, the situation was pretty straightforward legally. I had already checked that earlier, when we renewed the lease. She looked genuinely stunned that I had thought that far ahead. But the truth is I had started thinking about exit options the moment she told me marriage might be something she would only consider once her career had fully settled, with no real timeline attached. The rest of that night was quiet. Maya slept in the bedroom. I took the couch. By the end of the weekend, most of her things were gone. And just like that, a long relationship ended. The breakup itself was surprisingly undramatic. There was no dramatic final fight and no long emotional speeches. Maya packed most of her things, called a friend to help move a few boxes, and left. Before she walked out, she made one last comment. She said I would regret ending things once I realized how rare someone like her was. I did not respond. At that point, the conversation had already reached its logical conclusion. The period that followed was quieter than I expected. Years of shared routine take some adjustment to move past. So naturally, there was a period of readjustment. But in hindsight, the biggest difference was actually the absence of constant tension around Maya's schedule and priorities. My apartment felt calmer. Work stayed busy as usual. Bridge inspections, project meetings, and occasional site visits outside the city. Civil engineering is not the kind of job where you sit around overthinking your personal life all day. Eventually, I started dating again. Nothing serious at first. Just normal dinners, conversations, figuring out what kind of person I actually wanted to build a future with. One thing became very clear to me during that period. I was not interested in negotiating basic life goals anymore. If someone wanted marriage someday, great. If they did not, that was also fine. But I was not going to repeat a situation where a relationship stayed in indefinite suspension while one person decided whether it fit their career timeline. That clarity helped more than I expected. Some time after the breakup, I met Anna. She was completely different from Maya in ways that were obvious almost immediately. Anna was a project manager at an architecture firm in the city. Her schedule was busy, too, but she approached life in a much more balanced way. Work mattered to her, but it was not the only thing she built her identity around. Our conversations were straightforward. No competition about whose career mattered more. No lectures about ambition. Just two adults figuring out whether they enjoyed building a life together. And eventually, we did. But the reason I am writing this now has nothing to do with how my relationship with Anna started. It has everything to do with who unexpectedly walked into my office recently. It started like a normal day. I had a site inspection early in the morning outside the city. So, by the time I got back to the office, it was already close to noon. Anna and I usually meet for lunch on certain days because her architecture firm is in the same business district as my office. I finished reviewing a maintenance report and sent her a quick message asking if she was ready to head out. She replied that she would walk over shortly. My office building has a small reception area on the ground floor. So, usually I just go downstairs and meet her there. It is easier than having her navigate the engineering department upstairs. I grabbed my jacket and headed down. When the elevator doors opened, I immediately noticed someone standing near the reception desk arguing quietly with the receptionist. At first, I did not recognize her. It had been a long time. But then she turned slightly, and the voice clicked before the face did. It was Maya. She looked different, but not dramatically so. Same posture. Same sharp tone when she talked to people she thought were being unhelpful. The receptionist was explaining that she could not just walk into the offices without an appointment. Maya sounded annoyed, like the rule should not apply to her. For a second, I honestly considered turning around and going back upstairs. There was no reason for me to be involved in whatever she was doing there, but then she noticed me. Her expression shifted immediately. The irritation disappeared and was replaced with something that looked almost relieved. She walked straight toward me like we had spoken recently instead of after so much time apart. "Leo, wow, I was hoping that was actually you." That was the first sentence she said to me after all that time. Before I could even respond, she continued talking. She said she had tried to look me up online and eventually found the company I worked for. She had been in the area for meetings and decided to stop by. Then she asked if I had a minute to talk. The timing of that question was almost perfect because at that exact moment the front door opened again and my wife walked in to meet me for lunch. Anna walked in through the glass doors carrying her usual tote bag and looking slightly amused the way she does when she catches me checking my phone while waiting. She smiled at me first, then she noticed Maya standing directly in front of me. Anna slowed down slightly but kept walking toward us. She is the kind of person who reads a situation very quickly without making a scene about it. Maya also turned to look at her. For a moment neither of them spoke. I stepped slightly toward Anna and said something simple. I said, "This is my wife Anna. We were just about to go to lunch." That single sentence changed Maya's expression more than anything else could have. The confidence she had walked over with faded almost instantly. She looked from me to Anna and back again like she was recalculating something that had not gone according to plan. Anna greeted her politely. She is naturally calm in social situations, so there was no awkward tension from her side. Maya forced a quick smile and said hello back, but it was obvious she had not expected that introduction. Then she looked at me again. She asked when I got married. The question sounded more surprised than curious. I told her it had been a while. She nodded slowly like she was processing new information that conflicted with something she believed before. Then she said something that made the entire situation much stranger. She said she had actually hoped to talk to me because she had been thinking about how things ended between us. Anna glanced at me but stayed quiet. She has a good sense of when to let people reveal themselves. Maya continued explaining that a lot had changed in her life recently. Her tone softened in a way I had never really heard from her before. She mentioned that she was no longer at the same law firm. Then she added that the career path she had prioritized so aggressively had not turned out the way she expected. There was a pause after that. And then she said the part that made it very clear why she had come to find me. Maya looked directly at me when she said it. She said that she had started realizing that some of the decisions she made earlier in her life might not have been as smart as she once believed. The way she phrased it sounded careful, like she was trying to ease into a conversation she had rehearsed in her head. She explained that the law firm she had worked at for years went through a restructuring. Several senior partners left, promotion timelines changed, and the position she had been pushing toward was no longer as guaranteed as she once thought. According to her, the environment had become extremely competitive and unstable. Eventually, she left the firm. Now she was working at a smaller legal consultancy. Still a good job by normal standards, but clearly not the trajectory she had once built her identity around. While she was explaining all of this, Anna and I were just standing there in the lobby listening. Maya then shifted the conversation in a direction that made her real intention obvious. She said that losing the firm position had forced her to rethink a lot of things about life priorities, career, relationships, stability. Then she looked at me and said she had thought about our breakup more than once recently. Specifically, she mentioned the night I proposed. According to her, She had been under enormous pressure back then and had probably handled the situation poorly. Probably was the word she used. She said that at the time she believed sacrificing everything for her career was the correct decision, but now she was not so sure anymore. There was another pause. Then she asked if we could talk sometime, properly, just the two of us. The suggestion hung in the air for a few seconds. Anna stayed calm, which honestly made the moment easier to handle. I answered immediately. I told Maya that I appreciated the apology, but my life had moved forward a long time ago. Then I gestured lightly toward Anna. I said the future I had wanted back then eventually worked out anyway. Maya nodded, but the disappointment on her face was impossible to hide. Maya stood there for a few seconds after I answered. It was clear she had expected a different response. Maybe not an immediate reunion, but at least some opening for further conversation. Instead, she was standing in a lobby with my wife next to me and a very clear boundary in front of her. She forced a small smile and said she understood. But then she added something that honestly sounded more like frustration than reflection. She said that if I had just been a little more patient back then, things might have worked out differently for both of us. That comment pretty much confirmed everything I already believed about how she viewed relationships. Even now, she still framed the situation like the main issue had been my lack of patience, not the fact that she treated a long relationship like a temporary placeholder while she pursued her career. I did not argue. There was nothing left to debate. I simply told her that we had both made the decisions that made sense to us at the time, and that life moved forward. Anna squeezed my arm lightly at that moment, which was a subtle reminder of how different my life actually turned out. Maya looked at the two of us again, nodded once, and said she would not take up any more of our time. Then she walked out of the building. The whole interaction lasted maybe 6 or 7 minutes. Anna and I went to lunch like we originally planned. Partway through the meal, she asked one simple question. She asked if I was okay after running into my ex like that. I told her honestly that I was completely fine. If anything, the conversation felt like confirmation. I once thought Maya rejecting the proposal had ruined the future I had planned. Now it is obvious that moment actually redirected my life in a much better direction. If she had said yes back then, I probably would have spent years trying to compete with her career for basic attention and commitment. Instead, I married someone who never treated building a life together like an inconvenience. And judging by the way Maya looked walking out of that lobby, I do not think she expected that outcome at all. Bye-bye.